Good morning. It's Nicholas again. It's been a while. I thought I'd take you out for a walk with me. I'm in the beautiful Ashcliff forest, and it's a really nice spring-like day. One of the very few that we've had recently. It's just so. It's been a really long winter, and spring has been a long time coming. Everything's taken quite a while to warm up. It's not just seasonal. I think this is definitely colder than it's been for quite a few years. Anyway, this is where I am with my two naughty dogs, Lily and Jack. Jack, here boy, come and say hello. Jack is actually a lot better behaved than Lily nowadays. It used to be the other way around. Him being a man, sex mad. So he had his nuts chopped off. Poor boy. But to be honest, it was the kindest thing to do. It was absolutely driving him mad. And now Lily, she's a beautiful girl really. And you Lily, come here. Come here, Lily. I just shouted at her because she keeps jumping on Jack. And he's getting a bit old and arthritic, and so she, but she's quite naughty. I think she does it for attention. Lily, right, you're going on the lead. Right, you haven't got a penis, get off him. Get off him, now, yes. You carry on being naughty, I'll smack your bum. Come here. Right, see how naughty she is? Yeah, naughty girl, Lily. God, it's not kids, it's dogs. I'll just show you where we are. This is a map of Ashcliff. We are here in this car park. I'm just going to do a short walk. I think it's this purple route here we're going to do now. It's nice. I woke up this morning and the sun was shining. Makes you feel so different. You can feel so different from one day to the next. I do anyway. You know, a lot of mornings I wake up and I'm like full of aches and pains and worries, you know, financial worries and internal conflicts, and the next day you can wake up and feel as, I don't know, really bright and happy. You know, I think we're very much connected to the weather. Also there's something else, you know, it's not just about me and my relationship with others and and the weather. Obviously it does play a role in how you feel. Our environment, our culture, it all affects us, but there's something else. There's always this sense, well not always, but sometimes you get this sense of that there's this very subtle only way I can put it is other dimension around us, and we're affected by that as well. Very subtle. I wish I could find the words. We're influenced by other energies than what we can fully appreciate. Life's full of subtleties. You know, life's not just full of what we know, is it? It's full of what we don't know as well. In fact, that's probably a higher percentage. So I thought I'd come out and just take you for a little walk with me, and I'm just going to see what happens. See how I'm inspired. I guess I really wanted to carry on with my Awakening to Life series part 3, and I've been putting it off for such a long time. I just haven't really felt like talking about it. I don't want to feel like I'm pushing it on anyone either. It's for me, it's a very precious thing. It's very dear to me. It's also very fragile, and I think a lot can be lost in how we communicate it. I can't communicate the whole thing. It's too gigantic, too large, too delicate. Words are just, a few sounds that we can make with our mouths don't really convey it, do they? What is there? 5 vowels, a load of consonants that make a noise that come out of my mouth trying to explain reality, or trying to explain a greater reality than what we currently understand, or what I currently understand as well, because it's forever growing. I think when we start to wake up, it's almost irreversible. It's not something like you can forget completely, though sometimes it does blend into the background of our lives when we become more concerned about physical life and surviving, and when we're down, and when we're in conflict with others, and when we're worrying about other things, it falls into the background, but it surfaces time and time again so it's like not going from one state to another, it's always there, and that it can resurface at any time. Clumsy, isn't it? My use of words. I'm quite inadequate in many ways. It's really beautiful. I think we're in about the 14th of April now, about mid-April. Things are just starting to warm up. Look at the mist rising off the grass. I don't know if you can see that. I'm using a lapel microphone this time as well. Hopefully that'll be better. I'm just not even going to bother telling her off. Bloody annoying dog. Get off him, you bloody tart! You don't care, do you? No amount of bollocking her is ever going to change her. Lily! Lily! Don't do it, because it hurts him. Anyway. With the series, I've been thinking about how to portray it, and it's not like a schooling. You can't really go, this is level 1, this is level 2, this is level 3. It's a massive subject, and I suppose I'm just trying to divide it up into sections in order to explain it, categorise it, but it's still clumsy. I wanted to talk about the science of it a little bit. When I was a spiritualist, I learned quite a bit about the science of mediumship. Mediumship, when you say mediumship, or when I say mediumship, I guess that a lot of people would think it's a very small subject, but it's not. It's about our relationship with with everything else. Not just the physical world, because we are a part of it. I was thinking of a quote by Alan Watts that I heard recently, and he talks about the Big Bang, and a lot of people think we are the end result of the Big Bang, but we're not. We're part of the process, and it's continuing, it's forever evolving, and we are part of that process. That's mind-blowing. We're not on the end of the result of the Big Bang, we are part of the process, continuing to be a part of the process, and we're just at this intermediate stage at the moment. It's just like, wow. Alan Watts, thoroughly recommend listening to Alan Watts. He died quite a few years ago, but incredible, insightful man. And I think as well, like when we consider other people, we consider that their knowledge is the same as our knowledge and that they haven't progressed any further, when that is not necessarily true. Some people are very, very wise, and you can't begin to actually see that until you start to evolve yourself, and then you start to get glimpses of other dimensions of that person as you evolve. It's very subjective. I think initially I wanted to talk about science, the science aspect of it, as a very clumsy way of trying to explain reality. I think quite an interesting way to start would be to talk about curling photography that was developed by the Russians, I believe, back in the 20s, where they were able to photograph the aura or energy field of living things such as plants, trees. Yeah, it's quite interesting. So they developed a way to see the energy fields of living things. For instance, they photographed a leaf. It was called the phantom leaf experiment. Freshly picked from a tree, and they photographed it, and around the actual leaf could be viewed and photographed the energy field of the leaf. It's like a ready brick glow around the leaf. And the interesting thing is that they dissected part of the leaf, removed it, photographed it again, and even though the physical part of the leaf had been removed, the energy field was still intact and visible. Other experiments also were conducted where they would photograph things like newt's eggs, and in the energy field of a newt's egg could be seen the energy field of what the newt would look like when it would hatched. So it sort of suggested that, or suggests that the energy field, the energy part is the primary and the physical is the secondary, and not the other way around. This could explain why amputee patients, my dad for instance, he was a smoker and a drinker, and it paid its toll, and eventually got gangrene in his toes and he had to have his leg amputated. Horrible. But he said that, scratch my foot, Nick, he'd say, even though his foot was not there. This is quite common. The phantom limb experience. Our energy field can be observed as well by us. You don't need to be special or psychic to see it. It's just learning how to look at things in the right way. And most of us, I think probably everyone, has probably seen it at some point, but just dismisses it as, what's that, I don't really know. So, for instance, you might be looking at someone talking, and it's sort of a little bit of a spaced out stare. It's not focused. It's slightly just seeing without focusing on any one object. So if you were looking at a person, you would see a little bit of a ready brick glow, perhaps around the head or around the shoulder, and then when you try to focus on it, it disappears and it might move to another part of the body. But if you keep an open stare, if you like, not unfocused, but a gentle, relaxed gaze, you start to see it more and more clearly, like around the whole person. And what you're actually observing is the energy of the person, the primary part. There was a time a few years ago I was observing Heidi's, my wife's, energy, and she was in the lounge, and I could see it quite clearly and evenly around her body, and then at one point the energy moved to one side of her and moved out to the left hand side and out towards the door. And I just said, what did you just think about then? And she said, I just thought about going to the kitchen and making a cup of tea. So the energy of the person went there. What we can observe is only a really small fraction of it. It's also quite clumsy, but we can also feel it, you know. It's very subtle, but we can feel it. And if you attune yourselves to the subtleties, it becomes a little bit clearer, it becomes more in focus. So if you think of us as primarily energy and secondarily as a physical entity, we're sort of starting to focus in the correct way on the reality of things, and things become quite a bit clearer. When you start to attune to these more subtle dimensions, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be seeing ghosts everywhere. I think this is what scares people. They think, oh my God, what if it's a door that you open and never can be closed? It's like, when it opens, it's really, really beautiful. I've never been frightened by it. In fact, when you first start to tune into it, and also, you know, you need a little bit of support around you as well. You know, I started going to the spiritualist churches, and there was lots of people like me who are also experiencing similar things, and it helps support you in a way that you think, actually, I'm not a fruitcake. There's lots of people experiencing the same things, and that is such a comfort, and it helps you then. It gives us a little bit more courage and bravery to continue to develop and to explore, because that's what it is. It's an exploration of parts of ourselves that we didn't even know existed. It's fantastic. You know, in lots of theologies and religions, they talk about prayer, for instance. So what happens when we think of others, we are expanding and extending our energies towards that person. You know, and depending on the type of thought or energy that we are engaged in, we also have an influence on the outcome. So for instance, if we think loving thoughts about ourselves, and I have to emphasise this, it has to start with ourselves, it can't just be external. We have to basically learn to love, and love's difficult for some people to love themselves. So I think a good first initial step is to actually start to like yourself. You know, because we are a result of our upbringing, our environment, our culture. We are integrated with each other, so we're going to be affected by each other, and so in that way we can't be solely responsible for how we are, and we have to be a bit kind to ourselves in that respect, and then, you know, eventually you can actually start to appreciate yourself and love and like yourself, warts and all, and then you can start to work on yourselves. You know, we can't destroy, crush, throw away, discard the parts of ourselves that we don't like. We have to work on it and work through it, and there's an element of wisdom in our neurosis, if you like. So it shouldn't be just discarded. You can, by gently leaning into what we don't like about ourselves and what we don't like about others, we can actually start to glimpse something actually quite beautiful underneath. It's like a diamond, but it's covered in shit. So we have to learn to lean into and investigate the things we don't like. So we're not discarding anything. Anyway, I digress. This is why it's so difficult to explain, because it's so interwoven with lots of other things. Yeah, so the power of prayer, power of prayer basically for me is a conscious effort to love or help another individual that is in suffering. That very act is one of love. Even if you do ask an external entity to help, you don't have to believe in that, but we'd be pretty arrogant to think that human beings are the apex of evolution and there's no beings higher or greater than us, wouldn't we? That would be a really arrogant view. So we could leave that as an open concept. It's up to you to decide. So when we generate positive or loving thoughts towards someone, part of our energy would move towards that person. See, we are donating and receiving energy from each other all the time. We're both transmitters and receivers. And a subtle but still very, very powerful levels of existence. Now, also the opposite can be true, can't it? Because we've got to change arms. We also can be very negative about ourselves and about others, can't we? So it's almost a negative prayer. When we're doing that, we are sending negative vibrations or subtle emanations to ourselves and to others. When we hate another, we're also on the receiving end of that energy. Even in a physical way, it's like when you're full of anger and hatred towards another person, we're hurt by it. Also, it releases chemicals into the body which are not good for us. So it's a negative prayer. So at the same time, when we're doing this, whether negative or positive, we're connecting to other spheres which we're unable to see as well. So when you in a state of self-hatred and loathing and so forth, you're also connecting to other spheres which are vibrating at that same frequency. And the opposite is also true, of course, when we're full of love and we're learning to love ourselves and be kinder. That naturally projects outwards into our environment, towards others who we live with and who we integrate with into our society, and also into the other spheres which are vibrating at higher frequencies, heaven and hell. I'll use that term loosely because there are many spheres vibrating at different frequencies from the highest to the lowest, not just two. So I think when we're thinking good thoughts about ourselves and about others of like mind, beings of like mind, will gravitate towards us to help with that process. It's perfectly natural, isn't it? It's not supernatural, it's just really natural. This place has changed so much. They've felled loads of trees here. It's a lot more open and light. It's nice. Yeah, so this talk's been a long time coming. You can't cram it in. It's like it's an unfolding process. Lily, thank you. Good girl. Yeah, when I was a spiritualist and I was actively developing this side of myself and working as a medium and a healer. I did a healing course of a year at Dawlish, Southwest Association of Spiritual Healers, SWASH. Just learning about yourself and your relationship with each other in spiritual dimensions. Yeah, so when I was involved in spiritualism, I was very much engaging actively, extending and expanding my awareness and knowledge. And even though I'm not really like that now, I'm not involved in spiritualism, it's never left me. It benefits me. I feel happier because of it. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time. I'm just a normal human being. In fact, I think that some of the more spiritually awakened people are a little bit more normal than other people. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but it might come across in that way. It's like they're just more awakened, more awake. They've explored themselves more deeply and their relationship to everything. It gets more and more profound. As you start to expand, you start to realise that this idea of self, of me, is just a bit of an illusion, because we are made up of lots of other things. Thich Nhat Hanh puts it so eloquently. He was a Buddhist monk from Thailand. He died last year. Lovely man, really gentle. And he says, he has this beautiful orchid on the table, and he says, most people would know this as an orchid. But in fact, it's much more than that. It's made up of the wind and the rain and the soil, all the elements that are within the soil, and the gardener. But we just call it an orchid. But in fact, it's made up of the whole universe, the elements of stars. Wow, now we're sort of starting to get somewhere. We've become really obsessed about me and I and mine and me. And that doesn't help us. It closes us down. It makes us feel really isolated and actually quite lonely. And you think about the times when you're at your lowest, you feel very insular. It's because our reality of things has been shrouded. I think this is of some help to you guys. In my heart of hearts, I don't want anyone to suffer or to be unhappy or to be in pain. That's unconditional love, isn't it, really? You know, when someone hurts us, our instinctive reaction is to try and hurt them back, isn't it? It's just offensive. But underneath all that crap, really, we don't want them to be suffering. And the reason they might have tried to hurt us, or we felt that they tried to hurt us, could be because they were also suffering. So what happens to us, we project outwards. This is the beauty of the path I'm on now. Shambhala Buddhism and Buddhism in general is that it's about working on self, and we may think initially that that's a selfish act, but it's not, because as we work on ourselves and we start to like and love ourselves a little bit more, we project it outwards and others just benefit from it. We start becoming toxic, or so toxic. I wouldn't say I'm completely there, I'm not an enlightened person, but I'm on the path and I'm happy about that, moving in the right direction. I don't think it's going to happen in a lifetime. It's an ongoing process. Well, that's fine. We've got lots of time, haven't we? Because it goes beyond this, I'm certain. I know. And you know, actually, don't you? It's just we ignore the fact sometimes. Yeah, like I was saying, I'm really happy to be able to talk about this with you. It's a real privilege to be able to talk about it and express myself. You know, and talk about what really matters to me, what really matters to me. You know, I love motorbike riding and sort of physical pursuits, but when it comes down to it, this is the core of me. I'm expressing what is I kept hidden, and I guess that's because I don't like to be ridiculed. Who does? Because I think it's not just a personal thing. I think when you're ridiculed, it sort of undermines. It can undermine these things I'm talking about. It makes it. Because the message, or what I'm talking about, or what the essence of what I'm trying to convey is the most precious thing. I might do that clumsily, and I will make mistakes and misinterpret. I'm trying. Anyway, I think that'll do for a minute. I've got some editing to do with this video. So sorry I haven't shown you much of the environment. I've been a little bit immersed in my thinking. But, it's a really nice day. It's warming up. Yay! Summer is coming! Been a long winter. Hey Jack! This is Jack. Hey boy! Lily Billy, come here girl. You're all muddy, aren't you? Yes! Anyway, love you people. I'll try to do a few more in the future. Take care.